So our first question, which I think was the general question for the whole room, was what are you trying to get out of this workshop and the whole network? And I think the resounding answer that I received, especially from the younger participants in our table, were that they want the networking, but not only just the networking, because obviously they come here and they listen to these great stories and they think that that's great and that's inspirational, but they want real connections to the people that are here. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what you're trying to do with this LinkedIn that you're trying to do, but they really want a way to access the network and to build relationships with the people that are here and that are in the network, and then maybe get into more subgroups of, common interests. I don't know how we would categorize that, but, then, being able to identify people inside of the network that have common interests with them so they can access them. So I think that was the main, I don't know, either people aren't going to be able to read this.
I'm just going to put them up here.
So I think other than that, it was more about, hearing the stories is always good, learning about the issues that other people face and how they dealt with them, engaging on dialogue on the issues that we're discussing. Some of the members here want to actually take this form of workshop and adapt it locally, so they're here, to learn and get ideas so they can do it in country, which I think is great. And I think, those were pretty much the main issues that we discussed as far as what people are looking for in the network. Our specific question that we had for our table was, what are the challenges that you've faced as a woman in your profession? And I was actually surprised, I don't know but a lot of the women here said that they haven't had that many issues, in their profession. I think it goes back to, I think one of the lady here who was an entrepreneur, and it's just in their specific profession, I think, they've been lucky that, it's mostly women-oriented, so they haven't had any issues in that sense. But we did have other people mention that there are issues once you do get to a certain level, having men working under you, that is an issue, men having issues with women superiors. Another issue which has been discussed here with women not helping other women and women actually being tougher on them than men, women requesting men to interview them or to work with instead of women, which, is completely shouldn't be that way. And then we also discussed one last issue that had been discussed before as far as confidence, but I thought it was interesting that they tied it to the kind of gender bias that we have internally and how we have to overcome that, and get confidence to overcome the gender bias that we have internally to ourselves, and how we never think that we always underestimate our abilities as women compared to the men, and how we have to overcome that. So that was what we did.
Thank you very much. Adele?
Okay, I'll try not to repeat because there's a lot of common themes here that I'm sure we're going to hear over and over again. Exactly. What do you want to get out of today was the one we tackled first, and I think a really important one is the fact that we said we want to be able to somehow inspire the next generation of women to make a difference. Really make it their cause, make sure their voices are heard, not just take it on, but just really use any opportunity and every opportunity. There's social networking, there's communications, LinkedIn, lots of ways to make a difference, so make sure your voice is heard. I like this one, which we heard, what do we want to hope to get out of this? More enlightened companies. That was John, he had to leave. But when the companies are enlightened, it's going to make a big difference. We heard a lot about how do we build more networks with the women that are here? How do we create an enduring material out of this? So it's not just we're here together. How do we make this a long-lasting effort? Those were probably the three we had others too, which I really liked. not put women in a box. This is the second one. Not to put women in a box as mother or housewife, but really to say women and executive, women and leader and whatever, but just being that person, not being an individual. Okay, biggest challenges. Number one biggest challenge, unconscious bias. I think what we summarize is it's not an intentional bias, it's not really a cultural, it's not natural, it's unconscious. It's just a way in which, there's informal networks that men are comfortable with each other, so they're just comfortable working with each other. It's just rooted, we had a lot of discussion around that, this especially in Latin America. One other one is not demanding equal pay. That's a big challenge, and there's a lot of discussion. If there are lawyers in the room, it's a big, big topic right now in the U.S. about the Paycheck Fairness Act and all the work that's going on. So I think that will be resolved shortly. That's it.
Thank you, Adele.
Okay.
Great. Maria Inez? Perfect, here she comes.
Okay, regarding the first question about develop the network, we think that it's a very, very good tool in order to promote and to publish all the relevant information like articles, next events, and this type of things. So also we think that the network would imply to us to include other participants. So we should have the responsibility to promote and increase our network size, let's say. For that, we would need a personal engagement from us because one of the challenges that we have been discussing is how to promote quantity, but we are not looking for quantity versus quality. So we think that there is a huge responsibility on all the members. And regarding what we are expecting out of today, obviously the network itself, it's of a great value. Or having this possibility of having a regional network also, it's kind of really a plus. To have the calendar of events in order to be able to participate whenever we are traveling, or maybe we can be part of that. Another very interesting thing that we have been discussing a lot is how to educate men. We think that this should be, we should find a way of incorporate the men, incorporate in some way, in order not maybe to be fair of us, and to show and educate them how to manage or how to deal with us. Also, we think that we should be kind of a group that could be influencing policies, like a kind of think tank or certain thing that we can influence policies. Could be whatever the policies of gender promoting. The other proposal is that the network itself could be to propose a kind of a talent pool. So we could be a pool where the headhunters or where the companies could look for their talent. And also, something that is very challenging for all the women when we are traveling is that we are alone, we are alone for dinner or this type of things. Maybe the network also could help to say, oh, I'm here in New York, where you are, can we do something for dinner or this type of things?
That's great, thank you. Particularly like this educating men.
Educating
and educating men and influencing policies are very, very interesting. What was your color? Red. Red. Excellent. Carolina? And why don't we start with Carolina, and let's have On deck, let's have Gabriella. So maybe Gabriella can come and just be waiting up here so we can go more quickly.
All right. So, as you might imagine, a lot of the things that came up during our discussion have been mentioned already, so I am going to focus on a couple of the specific things that maybe we haven't focused on so much. Regarding the question that talks about challenges women face in advancing their career/leadership, what we discussed the most at our table was this idea that even within the population of women, there are like sub-stigmas, if you will, that can affect the opportunities that we get and how we're perceived at work. For example, the life choices that we make, whether or not we choose to be mothers or single women or married or not married, as these discussions come up, a lot is said about how to balance motherhood and a career, for example, and a lot of support is going towards that. But what if you don't have children? What if you just choose to, be focused on your career, but the way you define balance has more to do with educational pursuits or passions outside of work? These are equally valid goals. And so the idea is that whatever our life choices are, for good or bad, can be sort of turned into career detractors, right? So if you're married and you have a lot of kids, maybe you'll be passed up for a big challenge because they'll assume you can't do it. But then if you don't have any kids, well, you're always the one shutting off the lights of the office because you don't need to go home, right? You don't have, we need you here, right? You can always be the backup when everybody else has to go back and take care of family things. So we wanted to put the voice out there of for women that might not be mothers, and the idea being that, and this was said briefly earlier, that we have something to bring to the table. We're women, whether we have children or not, whatever our life choices are, the opportunities need to be equally available to all of us based on our merits. And I think that's, one of the obstacles that we want to overcome. The other one is self-doubt and low confidence. Again, it's come up over and over. We tend to underestimate what we can do. I think we're genetically wired to sort of focus on the experience we don't have or what we haven't done, as opposed to the enormous amount of impact we can actually have. So that came up, and that I would put under the category of things that are in our own heads that we need to do the work to sort of break free from. Second question, in terms of the goal for the events, we're here looking for insights, for inspiration, listening and learning to amazing stories of women that have walked the path ahead and learning how they did it. There are so many options for women like us in today's world via career opportunities, community involvement, education. This is a great forum to learn about those and to, do a lot of self-reflection to figure out what's right for us. Because I think at this point we've established there's not one path, right? There's no cookie cutter right or wrong way to go about this. And this is a very rich forum to do some self-reflection and explore those different options. We were having so much fun at the table just talking about the issues. So that's why we're here, right? To kind of pause, make space in our lives to spend the time talking about this. And it's certainly something that we feel that we're achieving. So I would say that those are the biggest points. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Okay, we also had a great time at the table, so we did answer the questions, but we talked a lot. So basically what we were looking to take from this event, we were looking for inspiration, being motivated, to share our concerns, to think about the career path. I think it was a general space for us to think about ourselves. Sometimes when we're running, on a day-to-day, we don't give ourselves that space, and that's basically what the table was looking for, and I think that they are taking. And also we talked about what was one of the things that really motivated us today, and the sense of fearlessness. That was something that really impacted all of us. And the feeling of empowerment and being able to make decisions, I think that was one idea that really got into our table. And looking into the future, creating local, to follow on and how to keep on working together, the creation of local chapters. We had people from different countries and from different cities, and doing follow-on either calls or video calls with some of the speakers today that would be open to everybody. And also providing inspiring content through the web, through the new LinkedIn community, not only with inspiring articles or how to do things, also with specific research numbers that I think they were shared this morning, and they were felt that they were very important also.
Thank you very much. Randy?
Well, the good thing is that we all feel exactly the same. Our challenges, women bosses. We believe that as women, we tend to be more critical and less supportive, and we should be less micromanagers, delegate more. The other thing we said was that we tend to hold ourselves back, and somebody who interviewed Arianna Huffington said that the most important thing to do was to get rid of that obnoxious roommate in your head. The other thing is that we have to learn to manage up more effectively. We have to be more honest about the deliverables and the time frame, and learn that you can set limits. The other thing that came up, of course, was work-life balance. One person said, both are part of the whole. As women, we have more responsibilities, but somebody else said that they had a coach, and the coach asked them to see their schedule, and they brought up their personal calendar and their work calendar, and the coach said, it's all part of the same. And she went on to say that as long as you have a passion, you can do it all. And this is a common theme. I'll give you a preview of the coming attraction of Patty and Antonia, but passion is a recurrent theme. We must be passionate about what we do. And then somebody else at the table said that as we all become more global, we have a career in one place and our heart is in another place. How do you reconcile the two? How do you feel comfortable where you are? Do as best as you can where you are, and just know that eventually there will be a right time to go elsewhere and pick up there. The next question was, what are you looking to get out of the network? Well, some people came to seek and get sponsorship. Others came to share experiences and learn from others that have gone before them. Others said, all we have to do is show up, because if we show up, we're going to keep this conversation going. Yet somebody else said, how do we promote this? Is it by word of mouth? Is it through the press? We had a debate as to whether it was good to have the press or not good to have the press. The reason why it's good to have the press is that the word gets out. The reason why it's not good to have the press is that when you have the press, you have to have the press person from your company next to you to make sure you don't say anything you can't or shouldn't say. And yet somebody else said, but we all live in a world of Twitter where people can tweet anything. So this is a discussion that we had internally. Then the next thing is, the reason why they're here is because, you know what? There are no statistics for Latin America. And the one thing we should do is figure out a way to create statistics for Latin America. And I said, hint, hint, Chris Sabatini, we should make a work in Latin America AQ issue or statistics. Then somebody else said, okay, how do we stay connected? Is LinkedIn a good connection? Probably is. And the next thing is next time we should have more men. Last time we had one, it was Robert. This time we had another one, it was John. We thought about having more men here, but then our debate internally is, will we be as honest with ourselves and open with ourselves if we have men? So as you see, there's a constant debate as we pick and choose what we should be doing next. Thank you.
Next, I guess, is Luisa. Thank you, Luisa.
Okay, hello everyone. I was at the table with Delfina, Paula, Anne-Marie, Karen, who had to leave, Sonia, Alexi, who had to leave, Alexandra, and Cecile and Diana. And we had a very, very nice chat. I would like to start by thanking you, Susan, and everybody who put this together for the second time. I'm very privileged to be here for the second time. So I was here for the first meeting. I'm here for the second. I hope to be here for many more. And so when we were discussing what are we looking to get out of this sort of forum, we shared and shared and shared and shared, and we would continue to share more among ourselves at that table if time was not ticking. So basically for us, I believe the importance of these, of establishing a networking opportunity such as this one is very important. It gives opportunities for the people that come to voice their concerns, to learn from each other, to sometimes even find answers that I've been looking for, getting for many, many years or many months, or, and so that's very nice to see. So I would say that let's keep this going, not only here in the US, but also in other countries. I know that you've done it in Colombia, you've done it in Mexico. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to these places because I was traveling somewhere else in Latin America. But the idea that have been voiced here, many, many ideas from all the women that stood here before me, I think we should really note all of them down. Our specific question for the table was how do you suggest we develop the Women's Hemispheric Network and take it to the next level in order to engage people on a regular basis? We thought that the LinkedIn is a very good first initiative, but we would like to take it to a broader and higher level. For example, if we could use the web page, the webpage of the organization, to have a specific session for this networking opportunity where we could have information about us, little bios. We could come up with a template that makes sense, that is not only focusing on our professional experiences, which is important because people need to know what we've been doing and to try to connect, but also a little bit about our private life situation, a little bit about our hobbies, about what we like to do, and maybe start a mentoring program through that way where we could offer ourselves, the ones who are willing to do so, to become mentors of other people, either sitting at this room or friends of people that are here, and put up the bios there, and people can just reach out to us like that. Another thing was to have to group people by interests or hobbies or locations. For example, there's people here who have come from many different countries or even different cities in the U.S. Maybe, like some other people here were saying before, if we travel to some of these countries, we can kind of, send a message through LinkedIn or through, email and say, we're here, let's get together. Create, and therefore creating opportunities for face-to-face meeting going forward. And what else did we put here? I think in terms of future, that was really it. It's really to try to keep this going for as long as we can. And, in a manner that enriches it really. So that's where I leave it. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. So, you're on deck. You're Beatrice, and then you're next.
Do you need a question?
I don't need the question.
Well, we also had a lot of fun at our table, and I learned a lot from the discussion in our table. We also want to thank Susan for this wonderful experience and for.
No, thank you.
We had a general question, the value of the workshop and the value of the network, and then a specific question. Regarding the value of the workshop, we had first the value of aspirational roles, that is inspiration and learning from role models, and second, the value of connecting. And third, one of the women in our table said the great discovery of sponsorship as a complement to mentoring. And one other woman defined this as how we can make a difference in other women's careers. That's sponsorship, really. The question two, the value of the network. First, it is a women's network, so the value of networking among other women. And second, the value of having a regional, international women's network that widens our vision and avoids excessive local focus sometimes in our careers. Question two, in the question two was referred to the new LinkedIn group, and how do we suggest to develop this network, the Women's Hemispheric Network, and take it to the next level. So the first thing that was said is in order to develop it and to take it to the next level, we need engagement and outreach. Second, if in LinkedIn, if we're only focusing on the group, we need to use it in order to create a safe and confidential space where specific questions can be raised regarding challenges women face in their careers. But also, it was said that it's not enough to rely on that. Well, before I go to that, the second question related to the LinkedIn group was how you can activate the network if you're going to answer questions. So group it by industries, by affinity groups, or have a library of recurrent themes, so if questions are asked in recurrent way, they can be answered. But someone said that it's necessary to create other instances of communication. In some industries, regulators may not allow some of their women or men executives to participate in social media, so we need to have other, particularly in financial industries. So we need to have other instances of communication, not just the group. For instance, quarterly conference calls, someone mentioned, by affinity groups. And finally, one other woman raised that it's very important to have transparency regarding the motives or the objectives of each of us to participate in the network. But everybody agreed that it's a great idea to have a women network across the hemisphere. Thank you very much. So these are our, thank you.
Fantastic. Karen, so this is question one, this is question two. Excellent. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. Karen here from Bloomberg News. Delighted to be here for a second year. I was a table leader last year. I think this table this year was even better than last year's table, so big hello to the pink table. What we talked about at our table was pretty much that 30 years later, for those of us who've been in the workforce for about 30 years, it's the same issue. So the same things keep on coming up. What's changed this time is that for people of my generation, we wished, we hoped, we prayed, we pined for gender parity. And I think for the women today, there really is, the expectation has changed. At our table, we felt that younger women today think that it's a right, it's a human right, that this should be happening, this needs to happen. We're not delusional, we realize that it still is not happening, but the expectation has changed. We're also very encouraged by the fact that there's so much more data available, and that helps a lot for companies to change their behaviors. We also talked a little bit about child care and elder care and the concerns that happen when the life of the home still falls so heavily upon women, and what's going to happen. Yes, you can, Adriana, my colleague, who was 7 months pregnant and got promoted twice, that's great, but we all know, for those of us who have children or who have parents who shouldn't be driving, at some point we have to help, we have to keep things going, and do you make that phone call and say, you know, my nanny's sick, or childcare isn't working, or something's happening. We came here wanting to understand how to advance our careers and how to navigate workplace power dynamics. We wanted to understand sponsorship and kind of more about how we needed to build a go-to team. And we wanted also to understand competition and confidence. What does a leader look, sound, and feel like? And those are all things that we all grapple with. And we also wanted to understand what people in power of companies actually care about. And I think we all kind of realized when women who left at our table said, you know, you have to understand the whole company. So you need to understand how things work, what matters to the people who have the most at stake in your companies. And that's going to be a little bit of everything. That's going to be customers and business and budgets and human capital and all of it. And so working on challenges, we thought that it was really important to think about finding one's voice. We also thought that women are less organic when it comes to self-promotion. We talked about women, mentors, and sponsorship. And one of the things that keeps on coming up is the fact that women don't do a great job promoting other women. And it isn't just that women hate other women. It's simply often it's a power game. What we heard before, and John is my manager, John's able to mentor Adriana because Adriana is indeed 100% fabulous, but he also has the power to be able to make a mistake. If you're a woman and you're already on shaky political ground, going out there and taking a risk for someone else, it's even doubly dangerous. And so that may be, for those of you who are having clashes with women who you think should be leading or supporting, really put yourself in their shoes and try to figure out just how secure are they in their own careers. Women just aren't seen as leaders. That's another challenge that we have. And then all the variety of unconscious bias and fuzzy boundaries. One of the women at our table talked about not quite, slightly underhanded men perhaps not quite respecting your role and doing little things that will kind of undermine you. And it's difficult to talk about little things. The big undermine is easy. You stole my account, right? You stole my story. It's the little things that make it a little bit more difficult to say, you know, you're not playing fair. And then also being everyone's friend. And perhaps that's my own personal thing. You do want to be liked, but I don't even like my children at this point. So realizing that to be respected is really important, and people will respect who you are, and that you're fair and accurate and honorable, and not necessarily that you're everyone's friend. And on a final note, Susan, the last time I was here, there were a lot of women leaders here who were talking about, naturally brought up that they had 2 or 3 husbands. Do you remember that? Yeah, that was really, really interesting. A lot of the women had 2 or 3 husbands, and I quipped that my husband was on shaky ground. I just want everyone to know I'm still married to Mr. Reinhardt.
So there's been yet another change of plans. Does anybody have any comments or questions about what we discussed? Oh, sorry, one more. Delia. I apologize, Delia. Hold on.
Delia can sing because she's an artist. What, darling? She can sing because she's an artist. Listen to that voice.
I apologize, Delia.
Don't worry. Her comments.
I would have stood up anyway on behalf of all the ladies I'm representing. Hi, my name is Delia Jellin, and I'm the Creative Media Director for the Orphaned Starfish Foundation, which provides computer centers to orphanages, community centers, and schools in Latin America, the Caribbean, and Africa. So if any of you want to help some orphans and have ideas, come find me after. I am sitting at the turquoise table, and at our table we have a professor, a student, women in business, women in product and sales positions, philanthropists, people who are interested in philanthropy, women new to this country, women from another country, women who worked abroad in both Latin America and Asia, artists, women who wear many hats, which I think most of us do, women in a job transition or career transition, and entrepreneurs. And our first question was the question that everybody got at the table, I believe. What are you looking to get out of this workshop? And the answers were how to build people up from lower positions in business, to find opportunity for ourselves and others, to get motivated, to network and to build a network, to connect, to gain perspective, insight. This is also the public that we all relate to, so it's nice to be in a room with women we relate to create partnerships with other women, to be in a sharing environment, to have a human experience, and it was noted that this organization is very good at this. It's hard to find in a work environment. To bring women together from every industry, to meet other powerful women who want to make an impact. There's so much to learn from each other, to see how women are affected in other countries, in the workforce, and in society. To do what you are passionate about. It's okay to try new things. There's room for everyone in this world. It is okay to help each other. Companies are hard to get into, but once you are there, you will receive guidance. And we ourselves have to drive our own motivation. And our second question was the LinkedIn network, how the LinkedIn network could grow. And the first thing said was that everyone who attends today join as soon as possible and spread the word. It stems from goals. If you could set more of an education on this organization on LinkedIn, then it will also help us spread the word. To post relevant material, have and post events, have group participants who can post related events using the network, to continue connections. It would be nice to connect with Catalyst after this event, someone said, and subgroups. If you could have a subgroup of networking, mentoring, sponsoring, working with other cultures, philanthropy, then people could hone in on exactly what they want to get to use other social media, and to find partners, suggest books, movies, make it easy to find people that you are like-minded with, feature a person a month, maybe like a resident correspondent, use conversation to start discussions, and make people accountable. Perhaps everyone in this room should have to help another person grow in their career or present an opportunity in order to stay involved.
Thank you.